Let's get started. Where we last left off, we were actually just entering Building 6, which is actually separate from Building 5. We had learned that the enemy's commander is going to launch nuclear missiles all over the world, and we have to stop him. What you did not see is that I spent a solid half hour in this game just running around punching people and restocking my ammunition and ration supplies. This is because, frankly, again, no one wants to see me wandering back and forth for 20 minutes while I, gradually refill my ammo stocks. Let's see what this guy has to say. Our commander is invulnerable. No weapons can harm him. Here I thought this guy was being a douche, but believe it or not, he's actually half serious about that. You'll see why when we actually get to that boss fight. Again, what's kind of funny about Building 6 is it's functionally a large group of fetch quests. It's not like Metal Gear where there was actual things to do involving getting back and forth. In this game, it is seriously, your last couple of areas are just fetch quests. And here we get grenades. Believe it or not, there's only 3 hostages left to save in the entire game. There's a couple. Technically, you can argue that there's more than that if you were to count the ones that aren't really hostages. But yeah, there's only 2 left. There's only like 3 left, and of those, you only got to rescue 2. Technically, you can rescue the 3rd as well, but getting to him is a pain in the ass, and getting back is an even bigger pain in the ass. So we're just going to ignore number 3. And here we get keycard 7. The room we just entered now, you see how there's like that little area down below, and it looks like you can go through there? There's a pit there to guard that. If you use the pit closing trick, you can actually circumvent a sizable part of that area. But you'll wound up trapped because you don't have card 8 yet, and it kinda gets into a mess. The main reason that you want to keep going this way, though, and at least the way that we're going to be heading, is you need the backpack. It's not negotiable. You need the backpack. I'll get into what the backpack and what it does when we actually get to it, though. And we're going to need the power armor. Let's see what Jennifer wants. The commander is located on the top level of this base. Alrighty. So, let's get moving. Got our power armor equipped. Let's stuff this guy in the face. There you go. I think this is the last area we have to use the power armor. I didn't expect this either. This is another area where if you didn't have the power armor from the train, and you can actually avoid getting it in a couple of versions of this, then you can't actually beat the game at all, which is ridiculous. But there you go. A friend of mine was working on a modernized remake of Snake's Revenge for a while, and was planning to include an area where if you somehow missed the power armor, there was a room where you could where you had to get it again. Kind of like what was done with the SOCOM pistol in Metal Gear Solid. And again, we have dark rooms, and there is a pit trap right in front of this guy. Yeah, if you head along, it's always either the top or the bottom, depending on the guy. But if you had one of those routes, you can avoid getting caught by the pit. Speaking of pits, there's 2 of them right there. I don't know what it is with the Metal Gear series and pits in dark areas, but this is another example of it. Just like that giant passage between Building 2 and Building 4 in Metal Gear on NES, this is the same kind of deal. Except you don't need the flashlight, you need the flare gun. And here we have the last interrogatable officer in the game. Let's see what he has to say. Our weapons are ready. Holy fuck, this guy is the Alpha and the Omega. Not only was he the first one that we interrogated, but he's also the last one we interrogate, and he says the same thing both times. By the way, with this, it is official. There are more officers that spout pointless bullshit when you interrogate them than there are who give actually useful information. Alright, here we go. Now, you may recall that this looks exactly like a certain area in Compound 2. That door over there leads to a room with a ration restock and the last prisoner in the game, but we don't need to rescue him. We're already 6 stars, and there is no benefit to be had by saving the guy. And since it's a pain in the ass to get back there without dying, we're just going to ignore him. We have plenty of rations. We shouldn't need more than the ones we have in order to beat the game. So, fuck it. Not going for it. These door blocking boxes are vulnerable only to being punched, stabbed, and hit with explosives. They have a huge amount of HP too. Most people prefer to just stab them repeatedly with a knife. That is generally the fastest way to deal with them. Technically the second fastest way to deal with them. Technically the fastest way is to just use plastic explosives. But it's the knife's a bit more efficient. I think this opens with card 2. I stand corrected. And here we have something. Here we have something dickish. You have been trapped. Ha ha ha. Yeah, these guys are hostages that have been rigged with explosives. That is a dick move. Not gonna lie, seriously dick move. Oh great, more spikes. Boots, problem solved. And here we have the poison needle traps. If these hit you at all, you gotta use the antidote, or your health will very slowly trickle away. Much like a lot of other items in this game, it's something that you don't necessarily need except for one area. And here we have the backpack. The backpack doubles the amount of mines and remote control missiles you can carry. It increases the number of mines you can carry to 80 and increases the remote control missiles you can carry to 90, assuming your max rank. Suffice to say, this is awesome, but you need to stock up to max with these things. If you don't, there is no way you are beating the last boss and what comes after it. Well, you don't need to necessarily stock up to max on landmines, just you need about 50 or so, but still, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, if you notice, there doesn't seem to be anywhere to go here. Use the X-ray lens, however, and we see that once again there's a place that we can go. Unfortunately, this is an open hallway, so the explosion is going to attract guards. But not any guards. Oh no. Now we meet the kamikaze soldiers. Getting caught in a blast won't necessarily kill you, but if these guys touch you directly when they explode, you're dead. Unless you have the body armor, in which case it simply strips off most of your HP. And what have we here? If you guessed, oh god, it's another area you gotta use the X-ray camera, you guessed right. With that blown up, we'll handle this with some grenades. God, these things are useful. Alrighty. Let's move onward. And here's where we get to use the directional microphone. When we first enter, we hear a conversation, but it's too quiet to actually make out. Just because it's directly below the boss room. The commander's only weak spot is the soles of his feet. Basically, what this tells you is that you need to use either explosives or landmines on the last boss. Generally, mines are the preferred method because they're easier to use, but the explosives do indeed do more damage per blast. Considering how hard that boss is, though, it generally boils down to damage racing if you want to go for it. Damn it. Those needle traps are kind of glitchy. They have weird hitboxes, which means they will hit you when you don't expect them to, and often when, you know, you'll bypass them entirely when you thought they were going to hit you. Hate those needle traps. You only encounter them there, too. That's the reason you need the antidote. Okay, those statues suck. You can destroy them, but it takes a while. This guy is, basically a wannabe of the imposter boss. Only he's a bit weaker, because now we actually have more health and access to better weapons. He's basically the same guy, though. I call this entire area the Gauntlet, and you'll see, and for very good reason. He's dead, good. These statues, again, can be destroyed, but they do so much damage, and they launch the remote control missiles at you all the while. It's a pain in the ass. Let's see what's in here. Oh, damn it! You have been trapped. Ha ha ha! I still say it's a dick move. Strapping a bomb to a cowards. Another gas room. And more door blocking boxes. If you're lined up perfectly, you can actually kill both of those at once by stabbing them or using the explosives. It's hard to do, though. Especially when Snake is flashing and making it difficult to actually, you know, for you to actually realize where the hell he's standing. And there we go. Armor is great for this area, by the way. It reduces the need from you having to use like 3 or 4 rations in that area to usually having to use 1, which is pretty cool. Be nice if they included a gas mask. If you head up in that center, it leads you back to the card 7 area with the death trap right next to that box. And here we have an ammo restock and a claymore restock. I'm going to take the time to restock on both here. You know what I just realized when playing this game? There is a very limited area to restock most of the weapons. Other than ammunition for your guns, which is pretty common, all the other ammunition types you only see like 2, maybe 3 times in the game. Except grenades. Grenades you find pretty commonly. But yeah, claymores I've only seen in 3 areas. Mines are only twice in the entire game. Remote control missiles, you only see those twice in the entire game. Explosives you find a few areas. Grenades you find a few areas. But flare bombs you only see 2 times in the entire game. Once on the ship, and then once in this building. For a game with as big an arsenal as Snake's Revenge, that really kind of begs to be used and taken advantage of, it's kind of sad because it's, you know, this really limits the number of times you would be able to use these. Like, can you think of how awesome it would be if you could kill some of the local enemies and, like, pick up a claymore or, like, a grenade? That'd be really useful. And it would encourage players to use them. But, c'est la vie. I believe here is where we can restock with mines. Yep. The second and final mine recovery room in this area. And we're going to stock up to full. Again, not because I want to, because I don't really have a choice in the matter if you want to actually beat the last boss. While on the subject of the last boss, I want to point something out, and it's actually a palette issue that I didn't realize until recently. The last boss's palette is actually bugged. He's slated to use the same color scheme as the guards that we encountered on Compound 2 with, like, the green vests. He's supposed to use that color scheme. However, they couldn't do that and at the same time have him, you know, have him mobile room to room. So, for that reason, he actually has the same color scheme as the guards that we encounter here with the purple jackets and whatnot. What this generally means is that unlike the way he's supposed to look, where he's supposed to look like he's wearing green, and then he's got like black hair, and then he's, you know, a white guy. Because of how they screwed this up, he not only appears black and wearing purple, but he looks bald because of the color scheme setup, which is kind of silly. It doesn't look so bad in the second part of the fight, but during the first part of the fight, he looks patently ridiculous. We are rapidly approaching the home stretch. There are some items we have to get, though, and there's a critical plot element we gotta deal with, which we'll deal here. I hate the guards here so much. And we get a transceiver call. Lieutenant, it was careless of me. Nick has apparently gotten himself into a spot of bother, as you're about to say. And here we get card 8. And there's Nick. We have discovered that Jennifer is a spy. A life support system is in Big Boss's room. Lead him out, then attack. Now, ignoring for the obvious point that he just revealed who the last boss is to us, it's critical to note that the information he gave there was actually incorrect and mistranslated. He's supposed to be saying the enemy has discovered that Jennifer is a spy and has thus captured her. That's not what he says, obviously. I hate these grenade guys so much. Your typical guard in the game only has 3 HP. These guys have 9. The shotgun still downs them in 1 to 2 shots, especially up close, but it's still a pain in the butt. And here we get, I think, the last new item we have in the entire game. And that would be the smoke bomb. Believe it or not, we actually have a full inventory load right now, except for oxygen tanks, which we don't need because there's no more side-scrolling areas. Aww. That one guard always is looking up, so if you go in from that door, which isn't essential, but is a very obvious way in, you will automatically get in a fight there. And right there, we have the other critical restock point in this entire area. That area is where you can get remote control missiles. It's kind of ironic, too, because there's a lot of areas where, again, remote control missiles are probably the single most useful weapon in the game, and there's 2 areas in the entire game where you can restock them. 2. There's one in Compound 1, and then there's here. There's no other place to restock missiles. It's the same thing with the mines. You get them like 2/3 of the way through the game, and then that's it until you get to the next restock area, which is in this building, and we just got to a couple of minutes ago. It's really something that I've always found kind of sad about Snake's Revenge. This game has so many, like, great weapons that you can screw around with, but there's nowhere to restock any of them. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, Metal Gear you really used remote control missiles outside of boss fights, but there was at least 2 areas you could restock them that were relatively handy, and you were going to be there a lot anyway. In this game, it's not quite the same. Because of the linear pathing, you can't go back to those restock areas. I think this is one of the game's, like, 3 critical failings. Right there. The side-scrolling areas, The side-scrolling areas, the fact that, you know, the general storytelling of the game, and the fact that, you know, there's so few areas where you can take full advantage of the weapon systems and items you get. Like, a couple of the items are, like, one use, and they serve no purpose except to fix a problem. Like the antenna or the battery. Now, to be fair, there was one of those in the original Metal Gear as well, with the antenna. But for the most part, it wasn't a huge deal. In this game, it's a bit more obvious. Like, seriously, when is the last fucking time we've had to use the, if we could count the number of times we'd use the power armor on one hand. The X-ray camera is about the same. We can use, yeah, it was used a little bit more. But, again, you can even make it through the game without even getting the X-ray camera. Anyway, with that, we're back up to the top floor, and we encounter a new enemy here, after we clear this room. I don't know what these are actually supposed to be called. The strategy guide refers to them as mini-gears. I have no idea what they are. But what they are is a walker robot that fires guns and does a huge amount of damage. They're also completely not worth it to fight in any way, shape, or form. Alright, we're in the home stretch now. Believe it or not, where we are now is where we're normally supposed to fight the last boss. The last boss, like Snake, can go room to room, which makes this area kind of complicated. Anyway, stay tuned for the next episode, because we're gonna, and once we get to the next room, we're gonna save here, mostly because the fact that my Audacity's been a pain in the ass lately. Stay tuned for the next episode and the ending, hopefully.